The latest update finally introduced a way to use up all the gold that you had stored. Now one thing is important, the developer said that this is just for people that enjoy playing the game and want to use their gold, and future patches of this game will not be balanced around the golden egg. So I expect that he will introduce a way that you can get rid of them, or maybe even move them around like a refund system and you get the gold back. But the point is, you don't have to do this. Now, can you do this to have a ton of fun with crazy stats? Yes, definitely. Disclaimer, this is not a definitive guide for simple reasons. Characters and stats vary a lot. Here in this case I'm using Pugnala with her own bonuses and weapons, however for your character this might be different, and especially since you gather the golden eggs, you will get random stats that I don't have even with the same amount of golden eggs bought. So expect this to change over time, and depending on your circumstances it might be more effective to do something slightly or even completely different. Now let's talk about the Bone Zone and Moon Golo, since these are the two that I usually compared with each other, which one is the best one for gold farming, and spoiler, it's Bone Zone. It's by far Bone Zone. Now why do people think or believe or know that Moon Golo is better for them? Well, let's talk first about Bone Zone. What are the benefits? The spawn rate of the braziers in Bone Zone is maximized. The spawn rate of breakables in general rely on your luck, however in Bone Zone this doesn't exist. Usually you would need around 500 to 570% luck, but here just maxed out. It's the maximum possible. Now the second benefit is that here only coins and gold bags spawn out of these breakables. That means no freezes and nothing else that could mess with your kill counter. Another very positive side effect is that it constantly keeps up the gold fever from the gold arcana, since you either need to find a gilded clover, yeah good luck with that, or with the Arcana, just pick up a gold bag for 10 gold. That's it. That triggers it. Another benefit of the Bone Zone is that there are a ton of enemies. A lot of enemies. Way more enemies than on any other stage. Now why does this matter for us? It's quite simple. Every single time you kill an enemy while you have Gold Fever active, you will get a gold coin. And the more enemies you kill, the easier it will be to keep your Gold Fever alive. Now Gold Fever doesn't really matter, there's no benefit in keeping it going all the time or for example resetting it the moment it expires, but what you care about is that the uptime is as long as possible. So whether it runs for 30 minutes or constantly expires but instantly restarts, there's no difference. Now let's talk about the benefits in Moon Golo. Moon Golo is only 15 minutes long and you can gather 12 eggs over there. There's also a lot of gold on the stage overall and you get all the free passive weapons. Now to understand, 12 eggs translate to 120k gold, or to adjust it for the 15-minute timer, 240k gold in 30 minutes. That sounds like a lot, and that is a lot, and that is why some people prefer to play on there. Like this bonus alone in eggs is more than you will earn in the beginning on the Bone Zone. However, the higher your greed will be, the less valuable the eggs become. Think about it this way, if you earn 100 million a run, then 240k is honestly not a lot anymore. But on the contrary, if you only earn 170k per run, then 240k, yeah, that is a very significant amount. Now it should also be said that obviously on the Bone Zone you can also get eggs, but I would say let's not continue going into details. I will talk about this later either way. Let's just start with the game. So the first Arcana that you want to have is the one to trigger the Gold Fever, the Gold Arcana. The simple reason is that it allows you to pick up gold bags. Early on, when you don't have a lot of upgrades, this is actually quite important and you might just die without it. So you have to rely on the healing from the gold bags when you pick up gold. The second one is Awake. This is for Firachi, and the third one is Heart of Fire. Now to the build itself, I will offer you some variations. The first one, the main one that I use, is Firachi, Vicious Hunger, that's a cat evolution, Hellfire, Thunderloop, Death Spiral, and Bone or Cherry Bomb. Now the optional one is, you can replace 2 of these weapons with Laurel and Clock Lancet for 5 additional eggs worth 50k. Again, same point, if you don't earn a lot then this could be very much worth it, since 50k, hey, if you only get 120k, 150k, that is a very nice bonus. But the longer you continue, the less valuable this becomes and is rather an annoyance and a time waste. Now to the passive weapons, these are quite simple since, well, you require them for evolutions mostly. Tiragisu, Duplicator, Stone Mask, Candelabrador, Spinach, And the last one is Empty Tome. I did a lot of tests to replace Spinach with Brazier, since the beams going around faster means they can kill more enemies, at least if you kill them fast enough, but then you have to drop Hellfire, which is honestly fine. It allows you to go for the Arcana with Area, but the performance for me was very different. Like, it was not consistently better, not consistently worse. It was very hard to evaluate, so I would just say stick to the stuff that I say and otherwise just test it. Now let's talk about the game order without Clock Lancet. Minute 1 to 8 farm up, get gold bags whenever you need to recover health, and focus on guns mainly. They are your main damaging weapons and will keep you safe, so it's quite important that you max them out, and they will be the very first evolution. So until minute 10 they need to be maxed out, and you need to have Tiragisu. The stronger your character becomes, the less important it will be that you focus on the guns, so later on you'll start just picking up, for example, Fire Wand, Lightning Ring, Axe or so on whenever you find it, but very early on I recommend you only picking up the super rare passive weapons like Empty Tome, Duplicator and Tiragisu. And aside from that, always go for guns. Like, even if Fire Wand shows up, ignore it, just go for guns instead if the guns are also there. You can even take this to an extreme, and instead of picking Fire Wand, if Fire Wand is the only thing offered, you just banish something else that you don't want to have in the build. That will make it more likely that you get your guns, and the more weapons you own, the harder it will be to max out the guns. That is again only a priority when you have very little buffs on your character. At minute 8, walk upwards to the Silver Ring. If you haven't figured that yet out, you can just press escape and show guides to know exactly where they are. If you make it there in time, then you can trigger the Guardian and he will follow you. The benefit is that he spawns at that point in time, which means he will be way weaker and easier to deal with. However, at minute 10 there will be a lot of trouble, so if you don't want to do that, I fully understand that. At minute 9, focus on XP farming with your guns. At this point you should be close to maxing them out, but be careful that you don't pick up too much experience. The main issue is if you get too much and you start maxing out all of the other weapons, then you have to gamble on what you evolve first, and it's an insane run killer if you don't get Farachi evolved as the first weapon. At this wave, it's also very advisable that if you have your guns but not Tiragisu yet, that instead you start banning all the other weapons as much as you can, so you increase the odds that Tiragisu will show up. Do not worry about losing too much experience just because you use some levels on the banishes. At minute 10, your job is to kite the Stalker. This is the most important part. You do not want to die, since each revive gives you one additional Farachi beam and increases the damage of Farachi by 10%. So losing them is quite painful, and since you don't have a wake yet, you don't even get bonus stats. The other two concerns are the boss and the Guardian, only if you triggered him. With the boss, what I usually do is I just run around and have Gati Amari on the floor attacking and making clouds. So I just go around that and keep the boss inside of the cloud so he dies as soon as possible. The moment he dies, I just go there and pick up Farachi, so I make sure that I don't run into the Stalker. And once done, you're pretty much set for the game. The only concern left right now is the Stalker, so just wait until minute 11, or, well, I should say, run away until minute 11, so he doesn't kill you. I recommend running around him and not away from him, as in directly away, since this will allow him to teleport after you. And if he teleports in front of you and you run into him, well, that is one revive lost. At minute 13, evolve Gati Amari, but only do this if all the other weapons are around level 7 or at level 7, and all the items are maxed out. Gati Amari will convert experience into gold, and that means it will be very difficult to max them out otherwise. Make sure that you don't max out the other weapons, since otherwise you might evolve Death Spiral first, then Thunder Loop, then Hellfire, and very last Gati Amari. Once you have enough greed to just maintain the gold fever forever, you no longer need Vicious Hunger, though Gati Amari is still an amazing weapon, since the clouds just kill anything that walks into them. So I still advise that. At this point, it might be more efficient to simply ban Gati Amari at level 7, so it never gets evolved accidentally by just picking up a chest or a boss walking on top of you. Now after minute 13, you can just max out everything. It's pretty much nearly impossible to just go for one first. So for example, you could just say, yeah, I'm gonna max out X to get Death Spiral since X is so bad. It's near impossible. You can do it if you just stand still, but honestly it doesn't matter. Keep in mind that this is something that you might do for hundreds of runs if you seriously want to grind, so just make it as simple as possible. At this point you have the possibility to run around the map and kill the guardians. Each kill will give you 10,000 gold, and with 10,000 gold I mean that it gives you a golden egg worth 10,000 gold. However, the more you run around, the less kills on normal enemies you will get. And each kill, without any upgrades, is worth 4 gold. The more upgrades you have, the more worth each and every single kill becomes. And even without any upgrades, it only means a difference of 2,500 kills, and now you start losing gold. My personal recommendation, don't stress yourself, don't go there, it's not worth it. Instead, just stand still, let Ferachi take over and kill as many enemies as possible. By moving around, it's also very likely that you lose the gold fever, so instead of just getting less kills, now they're worth nothing anymore, since you don't get gold from them. At wave 23, ranged enemies start spawning outside of your screen and actually so far away that they don't die. That is a problem, since with them the game hits the spawn cap for the next waves and nothing spawns anymore. I advise the moment you hit 23 minutes, just walk around, make sure that you still keep killing the enemies, and once you hit minute 24, just take around one screen distance to the left, right, bottom or top, wherever you wanna go, just to make them despawn. Note, I mean only in one direction, like you don't have to go all the 4 directions, just one, so they despawn and now all is back to normal. At wave 29, if you are still early on without a lot of golden egg buffs, just walk with Hellfire when it shoots into a direction. Hellfire should clear a path for you, and you just wait until it shoots again and you instantly follow it. Don't stress it if you die. The revival gold is very nice, but honestly it's also not critical for you to earn a ton of gold. Now the game order with Clock Lancet, but most of the stuff is the same as previously. The only difference is that at 13 minutes, do not evolve Gatia Mari, because otherwise it will be near impossible to get all the upgrades for the passive weapons that you pick up on the stage. And since you walk around for a majority of the next few minutes, it doesn't really matter to evolve Gatia Mari either way, since you will barely pick up anything. My advice is to only pick up the rings and trigger the guardians of the other 2 for golden eggs. The reason is that too much curse will just make the enemies so strong that you end up having way less kills, as if you would just leave them on the ground and not upgrade them. As a final step, you want to kill the Reaper to get a total extra of 8 eggs, which is worth 80k gold, but as I said, over time this becomes less and less efficient, and you will actually lose more gold by walking around instead of just standing still. Now, as a last word, this guide is not a definitive guide, I'm just sharing what I'm doing and what I think is the best. It's impossible to have already tested every single thing in the game, and to be honest, I'm not gonna do it. I earn enough gold and get enough increase per run that I don't care if I have slight improvements by just changing one weapon. Now, if you find a very good way to increase your gold output, then please let me know. And as the last point, check your performance from time to time. As an example, in the very beginning, I picked up the golden ring for an increase of 40% curse, like as in when I started out farming with Pugnala. However, it crippled my kills on the enemies. It does spawn more, but they had so much more health that I couldn't deal with that. Right now I'm at a point where I get the same amount of kills as if without the ring, so I expect in around 200-300 eggs it will probably be better to just pick it up. And eventually it will be better to pick up the arrow that points to the left side that also increases curse. But, and I think this is very important, whenever you do grinding builds, I think comfort is more important than efficiency if the efficiency doesn't justify the effort. So if you get 90% with 20% of the effort, or 100% gold with 100% of the effort, then that was not worth it. You just put 5 times the effort into something that only gives you an 11% better result. Now, it still means that you use your time more efficiently, but usually this just ends in you being frustrated or exhausted or fatigued, so you stop grinding, and then it turns out that the comfortable way was the better one. If this gold farm guide was useful for you, then I would appreciate it if you could give it a like. I'm not asking you to subscribe, but if you have the time, please check out 1 or 2 other videos and see if you enjoy my content. Let me know if there are any other questions, and, well, have fun gold farming. In the background you will see the run that I had with a Clock Lancet build, Because it was requested a lot of times in the past that I just keep the entire runs in instead of cutting them so people can check out what I did and know what maybe went wrong for them. Especially in a case like this where Clock Lancet build is a special build instead of just standing around. At the very end I spammed spacebar and that skipped the stats, so instead I took a run that happened afterwards. Sorry for that.